The shuttle's windows showed nothing but stars and the massive shape of Nexus Station growing larger by the second. Taeyang sat quietly, watching the structure that housed the Galactic Council. He had seen pictures before, but reality was different. The station looked like a wheel made of light and metal, spinning slowly in the darkness of space. Thousands of ships from hundreds of worlds surrounded it like insects around a lamp. First time seeing it in person? Jiwon asked from the seat beside him. She was younger than Taeyang, barely 30, with bright eyes that never stopped looking at everything with curiosity. Her specialty was ancient cultures and dead languages, which seemed like an odd choice for a diplomatic mission. But Earth's government had insisted she come along. Yes, Taeyang said. It's bigger than I expected. Everything about the galaxy is bigger than we expect, Doyun added from behind them. The military officer rarely spoke unless he had something important to say. His job was to keep them safe, though from what, nobody had really explained. Earth's relationship with the galaxy was strange. Polite but distant, respectful but cold. The shuttle docked without trouble. The airlock opened to reveal a corridor that curved out of sight. Walls made of something that looked like pearl but felt like metal. Alien symbols glowed along the ceiling, probably directions for the dozens of species that walked these halls. Stay close, Doyun said quietly. His hand rested near his sidearm, though Taeyang doubted any weapon would matter here. They were surrounded by civilizations that had traveled the stars for thousands of years, while Earth was still learning to leave its own atmosphere. The corridor opened into a vast chamber. Taeyang stopped walking, unable to help himself. The room was circular and enormous, with seating that rose in tiers like an ancient amphitheater. But instead of stone, everything was made of materials that seemed to shift color when you looked at them. Holographic displays floated in the air, showing data in languages Taeyang couldn't read. And everywhere, aliens. Hundreds of them. Things with too many legs, things with no legs at all. Things that looked like they shouldn't be able to exist, Ambassador Taeyang. A voice came from a translator device floating nearby. The actual speaker was something tall and thin, covered in what might have been fur or feathers. Please follow. Your delegation's seats are prepared. They walked along the outer edge of the chamber. Taeyang noticed how other beings moved away from them. Not rudely, but they moved, created space. One creature that looked like it was made of crystal actually pressed itself against the wall as they passed, its colors shifting to something that might have been fear. Are they afraid of us? Jiwon whispered. Impossible, Taeyang whispered back. But he had noticed it too. Their seats were in a middle tier, nothing special. But as Taeyang sat down, Jiwon made a small sound. She was staring at something in the center of the chamber floor. Down below, in the very heart of the circular room, was a seat. It was different from all the others, made of dark metal that seemed to absorb light instead of reflecting it, and it was empty. The seats on either side of it were also empty, creating a bubble of vacant space in the crowded chamber. What is that? Jiwon asked. Their guide had already left. Taeyang looked around for someone to ask, but every alien nearby suddenly seemed very interested in their own business. The council session began. A being that looked like a massive insect, its chitin decorated with symbols of authority, rose to speak. The translator called it High Counselor Vremic. We gather for the 1,000-year summit. Vremic's translated voice echoed through the chamber. To review the state of galactic civilization and renew our bonds of peace. The session was exactly as boring as Taeyang had feared. Species after species gave reports on trade, territorial boundaries, cultural exchanges. Hours passed. Taeyang tried to pay attention, but his eyes kept drifting to that empty seat below. During a break, Jiwon stood up. I'm going to look at it, she said. That's probably not a good idea, Doyun said. I'm a xenoarchaeologist. Looking at things is literally my job. Before anyone could stop her, she was moving down the tiers toward the chamber floor. Taeyang exchanged a glance with Doyun, then followed. Better to go with her than let her go alone. Up close, the seat was even stranger. The metal was carved with symbols, but they weren't alien. Taeyang felt his heart start to beat faster. The symbols were human. Old Korean script, the kind that hadn't been used in centuries. Jiwon was already running her scanner over it. This is incredible, she breathed. Taeyang, this is human writing. Ancient human writing. What does it say? She frowned, working to translate the archaic characters. It's a warning. Something about the price of mercy. No, wait, the cost of teaching? She looked up at him, confused. This doesn't make sense. Why would there be human writing here? We only made first contact 200 years ago. A shadow fell over them. They turned to find High Counselor Vremic standing there, with a dozen other council members behind him. The insectoid being's translator remained silent, but Taeyang could see something in the way Vremic held himself. Tension, or fear. You should not be here, Vremic finally said. I apologize, Taeyang said quickly. My colleague was curious about the historical significance. This seat is forbidden. But it has human writing on it, Jiwon protested. How is that possible? Our records say first contact was only, your records are incomplete. Vremic's translator made the words sound harsh. Return to your seats. The session continues shortly. They climbed back up to their tier in silence. Around them, Taeyang could feel eyes watching, or whatever aliens used to see. The atmosphere had changed. The polite distance had become something heavier, fearful. The session resumed, but Taeyang couldn't focus. Why would human writing be on a seat that looked centuries old? Why was it empty? And why did everyone react with such fear when they approached it? That evening, their delegation was given quarters in the station's residential section. Comfortable but clearly isolated from other species. As they settled in, there was a knock at the door. Doyen answered it, hand on his weapon. A small alien stood there, barely reaching Doyen's waist. It looked like a turtle that had learned to stand upright, with large eyes that blinked slowly. Please, it said through its translator. I must speak with you. My name is Quilix. I am from a minor world. We have no power in the council, so they cannot punish me for this. Punish you for what? Taeyang asked, gesturing for Doyen to let the creature in. Quilix scurried inside, looking around nervously. For telling you the truth. That seat, the one you asked about, it's yours. It's always been yours. Earth's seat? That's impossible, Jiwon said. We only joined the galactic community 2 centuries ago. No, Quilix said, his voice dropping to barely a whisper. You don't understand. You don't know what your ancestors did. What they showed us. What they showed everyone. The small alien's eyes grew wider. That seat has been empty for 3,000 years. It was made as a promise. A reminder. A warning. A warning about what? Taeyang demanded. Quilix looked at each of them in turn. When he spoke, his translator made his voice shake. A warning to never ever threaten Earth again. You don't know what you are. You don't know what you did to the Dominion. But the rest of us remember. The whole galaxy remembers. And we are terrified. Before anyone could respond, Quilix turned and fled, leaving the 3 humans standing in shocked silence. Taeyang couldn't sleep. He lay in his quarters aboard Nexus Station, staring at the ceiling while his mind replayed Quilix's words over and over. 3,000 years. The Dominion. A warning. None of it made sense. Earth's history was well documented. 3,000 years ago, humans were still building pyramids and temples, still fighting with bronze swords and wooden ships. They weren't traveling between stars. They weren't encountering alien empires. It had to be a mistake. But the writing on that seat had been human. Ancient Korean script that Jiwon confirmed was at least 3,000 years old. That part wasn't a mistake. A knock at his door made him sit up. It was barely 5 in the morning, station time. He opened the door to find Jiwon and Doyun standing there, both looking as tired as he felt. We need to talk, Jiwon said. They gathered in the small common area of their quarters. Jiwon pulled out her datapad, which was filled with notes and images she'd taken of the seat. I've been analyzing the inscription, she said. The grammar and style match the Goguryeo period, maybe even earlier. But that's not the strange part. The metal itself is wrong. My scanner couldn't identify it. It's not any element we know. It's not even any element the galaxy currently uses. What does that mean? Taeyang asked. It means whoever made that seat had technology beyond anything in the current galactic civilization, and they were human. Doyun had been standing by the window looking out at the stars. Now he turned around. There's something else. I've been monitoring station communications. The regular channels are normal, but there are encrypted channels that spiked in activity right after we approached that seat. Someone is talking about us. A lot. Can you decode them? Taeyang asked. No, but I know someone who might be able to help. Doyen pulled out his own pad and sent a message. Within minutes, there was a reply. Hyun. He's a communications specialist on our ship. Best hacker in Earth's fleet. He says he can try, but he'll need direct access to the station's network. That's illegal, Taeyang said. So is keeping secrets about humanity's past from humanity, Jiwon replied. I want to know what's in those archives. I want to know what happened 3,000 years ago. Taeyang looked at both of them. As the mission's senior diplomat, he should tell them no. Should remind them about laws and protocols and diplomatic incidents. But he wanted to know too, needed to know. Do it, he said, but carefully. If we get caught, I'll take full responsibility. Hyun arrived at their quarters an hour later. He was young, barely 25, with the kind of confidence that came from being very good at something difficult. He set up his equipment on their table, fingers flying over holographic interfaces faster than Taeyang could follow. The station's network is incredibly sophisticated, Hyun said as he worked, but most of its security is designed to keep species from spying on each other's current data. Historical archives are less protected. They don't expect anyone to hack the past. How long will this take? Doyen asked. Could be minutes. Could be hours. Depends on how deep they buried it. It took 3 hours. 3 hours of watching Hyun work in silence, of jumping at every sound outside their door, of wondering if they were about to start a diplomatic incident that would haunt them forever. Then Hyun sat back. I'm in, but there's a problem. What kind of problem? Jiwon asked. The kind where the files about Earth's first contact are sealed under security protocols I've never seen before. These aren't normal classification levels. These are the kind of locks they put on information about extinction events and galaxy-ending threats. The room went silent. Finally, Taeyang spoke. Can you break them? Maybe. But if I do, every security system on this station is going to know someone's accessing forbidden data. We'll have minutes at best before they trace it back here. Do it, Taeyang said. Hyun's hands moved again. Sweat formed on his forehead. Outside their window, Nexus Station continued its slow rotation, unaware that someone was breaking into its deepest secrets. Got it, Hyun said suddenly. Downloading now. Come on, he looked up. We have maybe 5 minutes before security arrives. Reading what I can. They gathered around his screen. The files were old, formatted in ways that modern systems struggled to display. But the content was clear enough. This is a council record from 3,227 years ago, Jiwon read. First contact with species identified as human. Origin world. Earth. Third planet in a yellow star system. Initial observation shows pre-industrial society. Pre-industrial? Taeyang said. Then how? Wait, there's more, Hyun interrupted. This is weird. It says pre-industrial on the surface, but orbital scans detected artificial structures in the solar system, hidden facilities on the dark side of their moon, automated stations in the outer planets. Someone was living there, but not on Earth itself. That makes no sense, Doyen said. Hyun kept scrolling. Here, this is the important part. The Dominion encountered the space facilities, demanded Earth submit to their authority. The humans requested a demonstration of Dominion power before making their decision. What was the Dominion? Taeyang asked. Jiwon had pulled up a separate search. Her face had gone pale. An empire. The Empire. They controlled 10,000 worlds. They enslaved species, wiped out anyone who resisted. According to this, they ruled 80% of the known galaxy. Ruled? Doyen noticed the past tense. Keep reading, Jiwon said quietly. Hyun's screen showed the next entry. The Dominion commander decided to show Earth what happened to species who asked questions. He took the human diplomatic team and tortured them to death. Broadcasted across all channels so Earth would see what resistance meant. Taeyang felt sick. What happened then? That's where the files get strange. There are 3 human ships mentioned. Small ones, barely warships by Dominion standards. The Dominion sent 500 ships to Earth to begin the conquest. But the human ships didn't engage. They just left, jumped away to somewhere else. They ran? Doyen asked. That's what the Dominion thought. They proceeded with the invasion of Earth. But 72 hours after they tortured those diplomats, something happened. The Dominion went silent. All of it. Every world, every ship, every station. 10,000 worlds, all silent at once. The room was completely quiet. Outside, they could hear footsteps approaching in the corridor. Security was coming. Hyun kept reading faster now. Scout ships were sent to Dominion space. They found the worlds intact. No bombardment, no invasion, no destruction. But the populations were gone. Every single being on every single world. Just gone. The only thing left was a message, written in every language on every capital world. What did it say? Jiwan whispered. You showed us what you do to prisoners. We learned, the door chimed. Someone was outside requesting entry. Doyen moved to answer it, but before he could, another chime. This one was different. Personal communication. Taiyang's pad lit up with a message. Unknown sender. He opened it. Meet me in Archive Section 7, come alone. I will explain what your people did. Why we fear you. Why that seat stays empty. You have 1 hour before the council demands you leave the station. Krasix. Who's Krasix? Doyen asked. Jiwan was already searching. Council member. Represents the sentinel species. Warriors, honor-bound, never break their word. If he says he'll explain, he will. The door chimed again, more insistently. Taeyang made a decision. Doyen, answer the door. Deal with security. Tell them whatever you need to. Hyun, wipe your tracks and get back to the ship. Jiwan, you're with me. The message said alone. Jiwan pointed out. And I'm a diplomat who doesn't follow instructions that might get him killed. Let's go. They left through a maintenance corridor that Doyen had mapped out days ago, part of his security preparations. Behind them, they could hear Doyen's voice, calm and professional, explaining something about technical difficulties and innocent mistakes. Archive Section 7 was in the oldest part of the station, where the lighting was dimmer and the walls showed their age. A figure waited there, tall and broad, covered in what looked like armored scales. Red eyes watched their approach. You brought company, Krasix said. His voice needed no translator. It was deep enough to feel in your chest. Yes, Taeyang said simply. Krasix studied them for a long moment, then made a sound that might have been approval. Good. Your ancestors would have done the same. Come. I will show you what they want to keep hidden. What they fear you will become again. Krasix led them deeper into the archives, past rows of crystalline storage devices that hummed with contained data. The lighting here was old style, casting shadows that moved when they walked. Jiwan kept her scanner running, documenting everything, while Taeyang tried to prepare himself for whatever truth waited ahead. I am breaking my oath to the council by doing this, Krasix said as they walked. But my people value honor above all else, and there is no honor in letting you remain ignorant of what you are. What we are? Taeyang repeated. We're humans. We're diplomats from a minor world trying to establish better trade relations. Krasix stopped and turned. His red eyes seemed to glow in the dim light. You are the reason the galaxy reorganized itself 3,000 years ago. You are the reason the council was formed. Why we have laws about treatment of prisoners. Why we have rules of war that every species follows without question. You are the nightmare we tell our young ones about when they ask why we must always choose mercy. He resumed walking. They passed through a doorway into a chamber that looked different from the others. Older. The walls here were made of stone, not metal. Ancient. This is the original archive, Krasix explained, from before the council existed. Before the Dominion fell, only a few beings in the galaxy know this place exists. He approached what looked like a stone tablet set into the wall. This is the true record, not the sanitized version in the official files. This is what actually happened. He touched the tablet and it came alive with light. Images formed in the air before them. Holographic recreations of events 3,000 years old. The first image showed space, and a fleet of ships unlike anything Taeyang had seen. Massive vessels, thousands of them all bearing the same symbol. A clenched fist, the Dominion, Krasix said. At their height they were unstoppable. 50,000 years of conquest. 10,000 worlds under their control. They had destroyed hundreds of species who resisted. They enslaved thousands more. We all served them. My people, the Sentinels, we were their warriors. We had no choice. The image changed. Now it showed a small blue world. Earth. But above it, in orbit, were structures that shouldn't have existed 3,000 years ago. Stations and facilities that gleamed with technology. Your ancestors, Krasix continued, the first humans to leave Earth. They built in secret, never revealing themselves to the surface populations below. They wanted to explore the stars without disrupting the natural development of their own species. Noble, we thought, naive. The scene shifted again. Now it showed ships approaching Earth. The Dominion fleet, hundreds of vessels dropping out of faster-than-light travel. The Dominion found you. As they found everyone, they sent their standard message. Submit or be destroyed. Choose quickly. Taeyang watched as a small human ship approached the Dominion fleet. He could see figures in the hologram, though they were too small to make out details. Your ancestors asked for a demonstration. They wanted to see the power of the Dominion before making their choice. They sent diplomats to negotiate. 5 people, 3 men, 2 women. The hologram showed those 5 people being taken aboard a Dominion command ship. What happened next made Jiwon gasp and turn away. Taeyang forced himself to keep watching. The Dominion commander decided to teach Earth a lesson, Krasik said, his voice hard. He tortured your diplomats slowly, broadcast it across every channel so Earth would see. So Earth would know that resistance was futile, and questions were not tolerated. It took 6 hours for them to die. The hologram showed Earth's response. 3 ships, the only military vessels the orbital humans had, began moving, but not toward the Dominion fleet. We thought they were running, Krasik said. The Dominion laughed. They sent their fleet to Earth, 500 ships to conquer one small world. They thought it would take a day, maybe less. But the 3 human ships didn't run, Taeyang said quietly. No. They jumped to the Dominion homeworld, right past every defense, every sensor, every weapon. We still don't know how. They appeared in orbit around the capital of an empire that had stood for 50,000 years. The hologram shifted to show a massive planet, covered in cities that stretched from pole to pole. The 3 small human ships hung above it like insects next to a giant. What happened next took 72 hours, Krasik said. We had reports for the first few hours. Panic on the homeworld, the Dominion fleet at Earth trying to turn back, but they were too far away. Then the reports stopped. The homeworld went silent. Did they destroy it? Jiwon asked, her voice barely a whisper. That's what we expected. When scout ships finally reached Dominion space weeks later, we thought we'd find ashes and ruins. But we found something worse. We found the worlds intact, every building standing, every ship in orbit, every station operational, but empty. The hologram showed those worlds now. Cities with no people, ships with no crews, stations with lights still on but corridors empty. 10,000 worlds, Krasik said. Trillions of beings, all gone. Not dead. Gone, there were no bodies. No signs of weapon use. No radiation, no damage. They simply weren't there anymore. Where did they go? Taeyang asked. We don't know. Your ancestors never explained. But on every capital world, in every language, they left a message. The hologram showed writing on walls carved into stone, burned into metal. You showed us what you do to prisoners. We learned. The room was silent except for the hum of the old archive equipment. Taeyang felt cold despite the comfortable temperature. The 3 human ships returned to Earth after those 72 hours. Krasik continued. By then the galaxy was in chaos. The Dominion that had ruled for 50 millennia was simply gone. Thousands of enslaved species were suddenly free. We didn't know what to do. We expected the humans to take control, to become the new Dominion. But they didn't, Jiwon said. No. They sent one message to the galaxy. It said, we want no empire. We want no subjects. We want to be left alone. Build a council of free species if you wish. Include a seat for Earth. We will not sit in it, but it will remind you of what happens when you forget that all beings deserve dignity. The hologram faded. Krasik turned to face them directly. So we built the council. We wrote laws about warfare and prisoners. We made rules that everyone follows because we remember what happens when we don't. And we left Earth's seat empty, as you commanded. For 3,000 years it has sat there. A reminder, a warning. But what happened to them? Taeyang demanded. The humans who did this? The ones with ships and stations? They vanished. Dismantled their orbital facilities. Destroyed their ships. Deleted their technology. Some say they went to the surface. Hid among the regular humans, chose to forget what they'd done. Others say they went somewhere else, somewhere we can't follow. We don't know. We only know they left and they took their secrets with them. Jiwon was shaking her head. This can't be true. We would know. There would be evidence on Earth, archaeological sites, references in old texts. Something. Perhaps they erased it, Krasik suggested. Or perhaps your ancestors chose to forget. Sometimes the past is too terrible to remember. Why are you telling us this? Taeyang asked. Why risk your oath to the council? Krasik's red eyes studied him carefully. Because something is happening in the galaxy. There is a species called the Vec hierarchy. They are young, aggressive. They have never known the Dominion. They think the old stories are myths. They are expanding, taking worlds, enslaving populations. And they are calling the council weak. What does that have to do with us? They have heard stories about Earth, about the empty seat. They think it is a joke, a symbol of human weakness. They are planning to test you, to attack human colonies and see if the old stories are true. Taeyang felt his stomach drop. When? Soon, maybe days. Maybe hours. The council knows but does nothing. They are afraid. Afraid that if humanity responds, you will become what you were. Afraid that if you don't respond, the Vec will learn there is nothing to fear, and they will become the new Dominion. So what do we do? Jiwan asked. Krasix reached into his armor and pulled out a data crystal. This contains everything. The full records. The real history. Take it to your leaders. Let them decide what humanity will be. But decide quickly, because the galaxy is watching and the Vec are coming. He handed the crystal to Taeyang, who held it like it might explode. One more thing, Krasix said. The technology your ancestors used. The way they moved 10,000 worlds worth of people in 72 hours. We have searched for 3,000 years and found nothing. No trace of how it was done. But we know humans did it once. Which means humans can do it again. That is what terrifies us. Not what you did, but what you could still do. He turned and walked toward the exit, then paused. The council will demand you leave the station tomorrow. They will try to pretend this conversation never happened. But you have the truth now. Use it wisely. Then he was gone, leaving Taeyang and Jiwan alone in the ancient archive, holding proof that humanity was far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. The journey back to their quarters felt like walking through a dream. Taeyang kept the data crystal in his pocket, aware of its weight with every step. Beside him, Jiwan was silent, her usual curiosity replaced by something heavier. Fear, maybe, or responsibility. They found Doyen waiting for them, looking tense. Security swept the room. They didn't find anything, but they know we accessed restricted files. The council has officially requested our departure. We have 12 hours to leave the station. Good, Taeyang said. We need to get this back to Earth anyway. He showed them the crystal. This changes everything. It took 6 hours to reach their ship in orbit. Captain Samin was waiting for them at the airlock, her expression carefully neutral. She was in her 50s, with gray starting to show in her hair and eyes that had seen more combat than anyone on Earth liked to talk about. Here you started a diplomatic incident, she said. I learned why the galaxy treats us like we might explode at any moment, Taeyang replied. We need to talk, privately. They gathered in Somin's ready room along with one other person. Bora was the mission's ethicist, sent along because Earth's government had wanted someone to advise on moral questions. She was older than any of them, with kind eyes that somehow made her questions cut deeper. Taeyang played the recording from the archive. All of it, the Dominion, the torture, the 3 ships, the 72 hours. When it finished, nobody spoke for a long time. Finally, Somin broke the silence. Is this verified? Krasix is a sentinel, Doyen said. They don't lie. It's part of their culture. If he says this is real, it's real. So 3,000 years ago, humans had technology that could move populations from 10,000 worlds in 3 days, Bora said slowly. And then they destroyed that technology and vanished. Or hid it, Jiwan added. Krasix said they searched for 3,000 years and found nothing. But that doesn't mean it's gone. It means it's hidden very well. Taeyang had been thinking about that during the entire journey. What if they didn't hide it off-world? What if they hid it on Earth? Where? Salman asked. Earth has been mapped and scanned 1,000,000 times over. If there was ancient super technology hiding somewhere, we would have found it. Unless it's somewhere we're not allowed to look, Jiwan said. She pulled up a map on the display. There are restricted zones on Earth, places where the government doesn't allow scanning or excavation. We always assumed they were protecting cultural sites or endangered ecosystems. Or they were protecting something else, Doyen finished. Before they could discuss further, an alert sounded. Somin checked her console and her expression hardened. We have incoming. Multiple ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel. They're broadcasting Vec hierarchy identification. They moved to the bridge. Through the view screen, Taeyang could see them arriving. Dozens of ships, sleek and aggressive-looking, arranging themselves in attack formation. Are they targeting us? Taeyang asked. No, Somin replied. They're heading toward the inner system, toward human colonies. She brought up a tactical display. They're making for Seojan Colony. 5,000 people there, mostly farmers and researchers. A communication came through. A Vec commander appeared on screen, his face covered in ridges and scales, his eyes cold. Humans, we have heard the stories. The myths, the fear. We do not believe in ghosts. We will take your colony. We will take your people. And we will show the galaxy that Earth is nothing special. You have 12 hours to surrender, or we will show you what real power looks like. The screen went dark. Somin looked at Taeyang. You're the ranking diplomat. What do we do? Taeyang felt the weight of the decision crushing down on him. Open a channel to Earth, priority 1. We need to talk to the government. The response came faster than expected. Earth's governing council must have been waiting. Premier Gangjin appeared on screen, looking older than Taeyang remembered. Behind him were other council members, their faces grave. We saw the Vec broadcast, Gangjin said. We've been monitoring the situation. What's your assessment? Taeyang explained everything. The empty seat, the archives, the truth about what happened 3,000 years ago. When he finished, the council members were silent. We knew, Gangjin finally said. Not all of it. Not the details. But we knew something had happened. There are places on Earth, sealed vaults that we've never been able to open, old facilities that our ancestors left with warnings to never disturb. We've respected those wishes for generations. Maybe it's time to stop respecting them, Somin said. The Vec are going to attack our colony. If we do nothing, people die. If we fight conventionally, we might lose. But if what Krasik said is true, somewhere on Earth is technology that could end this without anyone dying. Or technology that could kill billions, Bora said quietly. Everyone turned to look at her. That's what we're talking about, isn't it? Whatever our ancestors used, it was powerful enough to move trillions of beings from 10,000 worlds. That kind of power doesn't come without risk. The Vec are counting on us being afraid of our own power, Doyen said. They think we're weak because we choose peace. But choosing peace and being weak are not the same thing. Premier Gangjin looked troubled. Even if we wanted to access these old facilities, we don't know how. The seals are beyond our technology. Our ancestors made sure of that. Jiwan leaned forward, the writing on the council seat. I only partially translated it. But one phrase was clear. It said, when mercy fails, memory awakens. What if that's not just words? What if it's a key? A key to what? Gangjin asked. To whatever they locked away. To the technology. To the knowledge. Jiwan pulled up her scans of the seat's inscriptions. These symbols aren't just decoration. They're a sequence, a code. What if our ancestors left us a way to access what they hid, but only if we truly needed it? This is insane, one of the council members said. We're talking about unleashing technology we don't understand. That was used to do something terrifying 3,000 years ago. We're talking about saving 5,000 lives, Somin countered. And showing the galaxy that mercy is a choice, not weakness. Premier Gangjin closed his eyes for a long moment. There is a facility, in the mountains of what used to be Korea. We've kept it secret for generations. The entrance has symbols like the ones you found. If you're right about this being a key, that's where we'd use it. How long to get there? Taeyang asked. 3 hours by fast shuttle from your location. The Vec gave us 12 hours before they attack, Doyen noted. We have time. Do we have the right? Bora asked. To make this decision for all of humanity? To potentially become what our ancestors feared they'd become? Taeyang looked at each person in the room. Then he looked at the data crystal still sitting on the table. Our ancestors made a choice 3,000 years ago. They saw what the Dominion did and they responded. Then they looked at what they'd become, and they chose to lock it away. But they didn't destroy it. They kept it, protected it, and they left us a key. Maybe they knew that one day we'd face this choice again. He stood up. I'm going to that facility. I'm going to see what they left us. And then I'm going to decide if using it makes us monsters or if refusing to use it makes us cowards. Anyone who wants to come can come. Anyone who doesn't, I understand. I'm with you, Jiwan said immediately. As am I, Doyen added. Somin nodded. My ship will get you there. But Taeyang, whatever you find, whatever you decide, do it fast. Because those 5,000 people at the colony are counting on us. Bora stood up last. I'll come too. If we're going to open this box, someone needs to be there to remind us of the cost. Premier Gangjin gave them the coordinates. May our ancestors forgive us if we're wrong. The shuttle ride to Earth was tense. Through the windows, Taeyang could see their home world growing larger. Somewhere down there was technology that could move worlds. Technology that terrified the galaxy. technology that their ancestors had locked away because they feared what they'd become, and in 12 hours the Vec would attack. The galaxy was watching, and Earth would have to decide what it was willing to become to protect its people. The shuttle began its descent, heading for mountains that held secrets 3,000 years old. The facility was hidden inside a mountain that looked like any other. No markers, no signs, nothing to indicate that beneath the rock and trees lay something that could change the balance of power in the galaxy. The shuttle landed in a clearing, and Taeyang stepped out into cool mountain air that smelled of pine and earth. "It's beautiful here," Jiwon said softly. "Peaceful." "Our ancestors chose this place carefully." Premier Gangjin's voice came through their communicators. He was watching from orbit through their camera feeds. "They wanted to hide their power and beauty, to remind future generations what we'd be risking if we used it." Doyen had his scanner out. "I'm reading something under the mountain. Energy signatures that don't match any known technology. And they're active. Whatever's down there, it's not dormant. They found the entrance behind a waterfall exactly like something from an old story. The rock face was carved with the same symbols Jiwon had seen on the council seat." She pulled out her pad, comparing them to her scans. "It's a match," she confirmed. "The sequence is the same. When mercy fails, memory awakens." She reached out and touched the symbols in order, following the pattern from the seat. Nothing happened for a long moment. Then the rock began to move, sliding aside with a sound like grinding thunder. Light spilled out from within, clean and white and clearly artificial. 3,000 years and the lights still work, Doyen muttered. "That's impressive." They entered carefully, weapons ready even though they didn't know what they'd find. The corridor beyond was smooth and perfect, made of the same strange metal as the council seat. The walls glowed softly, providing light without any visible source. The corridor opened into a chamber that took Taeyang's breath away. It was massive, easily the size of a city block, carved out of the mountain's heart, and it was full of things. Machines, devices, panels covered in symbols, and in the center a platform with a single chair facing a view screen. "This is a control center," Sumin said over the comm. "But for what?" Jiwon approached one of the panels. As she got close, it activated, displaying text in ancient Korean. "It's a log, a record." She began reading aloud. "Day 1 of the exile. We have sealed our weapons. We have hidden our knowledge. We hope that by the time our descendants find this place, they will have evolved beyond the need for it. But if they haven't, if the galaxy forces their hand, they will find what they need here." She moved to another panel. "This one's a warning. It says, what we did to the Dominion was necessary but terrible. We didn't destroy them. That would have been mercy. We removed them from time itself, placed them in a prison where they exist but cannot affect the universe. 10,000 worlds, frozen in a single moment, forever. We created hell so the galaxy could have peace." "They're still alive?" Taeyang asked. "The Dominion. Trapped," Jiwon said. "Outside normal space. Outside time. Aware but unable to act. For 3,000 years." Bora looked ill. "That's worse than death. That's torture on a scale we can barely imagine." "That's why they hid it," Doyen said. "They weren't afraid of the weapon. They were afraid of what using it said about them." An alert sounded from their communicators. Somin's voice came through, urgent. "The Vec are moving. They're approaching the colony. We're out of time." Taeyang moved to the central chair and sat down. The view screen came alive, showing him the star system, the colony, the Vec fleet approaching like predators circling prey. Other screens activated around the chamber, showing him controls, options, information flooding in faster than he could process. But one thing was clear. There was a button. One button, isolated from everything else, glowing red. Above it, text in ancient Korean and in modern English. The universal translator technology the ancients must have developed. It said simply, "Release the same fate." "They left us a choice," Taeyang said. "We can do to the Vec what they did to the Dominion. Remove them from time, trap them forever, end the threat permanently." "Don't," Bora said. "Please, that's not justice. That's not even war. That's creating suffering that will last forever. Then what do we do? Taiyang demanded. Let them kill our people? Show the galaxy that we're weak? Look at the other controls, Jiwan said. She had moved to a different panel. There's more here. Other technology. This one is labeled temporal field. It doesn't remove things from time. It freezes them in time, like pause instead of delete. What's the difference? Doyun asked. One is permanent. Forever. The other can be undone. She looked at Taiyang. We could stop the Vec without damning them for eternity. We could show them what we're capable of without becoming monsters. And if they don't learn, Soman asked over the comm, if we release them and they attack again, then we make a different choice then, Bora said. But right now, in this moment, we have the chance to be better than our ancestors feared they were, to use power without losing our humanity. Taiyang looked at the screens. The Vec fleet was almost at the colony. Minutes away, he could see their weapons charging. In his mind, he could see what would happen. The bombardment. The deaths. 5,000 people who had done nothing wrong. He stood up and moved to the panel Jiwan had found. The temporal field controls were complex, but there were presets. One was labeled Containment Without Harm. He looked at Jiwan. Are you sure this works? The logs say it was their first attempt. Before they created the permanent prison, they used it on asteroid fields and small moons for testing. It worked perfectly, completely reversible. Then that's what we use. Taiyang activated the system. The chamber hummed with power. The view screen showed the Vec fleet, weapons ready to fire on the colony, and then the Vec fleet simply stopped. Their ships hung in space, frozen mid-motion. The weapons that had been charging went dead. Their communications cut off. From the outside, they looked normal. But inside, time had stopped. The Vec crew was trapped in a single moment, unaware that anything had happened. It worked, Somin said, her voice filled with relief and something like awe. They're completely neutralized, and the colony is safe. Taiyang sat back down, suddenly exhausted. Open a channel. Broadcast to the entire galaxy. I want everyone to hear this. Channel open, Soman confirmed. Taiyang took a breath, then spoke. This is Ambassador Taiyang of Earth. Today the Vec hierarchy attacked our colony without cause. They believed we were weak. They believed the stories about us were myths. They were wrong. Our ancestors left us tools, technology beyond anything the current galaxy possesses. We could have used it to destroy the Vec, to remove them from existence entirely, but we chose differently. The Vec fleet is now frozen in time. They are not harmed. They are not dead. They are paused. When we believe they understand that all life is precious, we will release them. This might take years or centuries. We will wait. To the rest of the galaxy, this is our promise. We do not seek power. We do not want to rule, but we will protect the innocent. And we will respond to harm with proportion and mercy, but we will respond. The seat at the council has been empty for 3,000 years. That ends today. He stood up, leaving the facility's controls active but secured. The walk back to the shuttle felt different. The mountain still looked peaceful, but now Taiyang knew what it held. Power enough to terrify a galaxy. Power his ancestors had locked away because they feared what it made them. They returned to orbit. The news had already spread. Every screen, every channel, every communication system in the galaxy was talking about what Earth had done. The council had convened an emergency session. When Taiyang arrived back at Nexus Station, the atmosphere was completely different. Being still moved away from him, but now it was clear what the emotion was. Fear, yes, but also respect. Understanding. High Counselor Vremic met him at the airlock. You sat in your seat. I made a broadcast, Taiyang corrected. But yes, I think it's time we stopped hiding from what we are. And what are you? Taiyang thought about the facility, about the power hidden in that mountain, about the choice he'd made. We're a species that has the power to destroy, but chooses not to. Most of the time, We're people who value mercy but won't tolerate cruelty. We're humans. And we're done pretending we're something we're not. The council session was brief. Taeyang stood before them, the empty seat no longer empty. He had claimed it, not for power, but to make a point. I propose we dissolve the special status of Earth's seat. Make it equal to all others. We don't want to be above you. We want to be with you. And the technology you possess? Vremik asked. The power you demonstrated? Remains sealed. Only to be used in defense of the innocent. Only to be used when other options fail. We learned from our ancestors' mistakes. Power doesn't corrupt, but fear of power or worship of power, that corrupts. We choose to see it as a tool, nothing more. There was debate, of course. Some species wanted Earth's technology shared. Others wanted it destroyed. But in the end, a new agreement was reached. Earth would join the Council as equals. The technology would remain sealed but available as a last resort. And Earth would serve as what Taeyang called the galaxy's conscience, using their power only to prevent extinction or slavery. Years later, Taeyang returned to the mountain facility one more time. The Vec hierarchy had been released after 5 years of frozen time. They had emerged changed, humbled, understanding what could have been done to them.